Hey everyone, welcome back to WNY High School Sportsline. My name is Frank Wolf from WNYathletics.com. Today is Wednesday, April 22nd. Not a whole heck of a lot going on right now, as you know, but I want to send a shout out to Justin McDougall from Niagara Wheatfield, the wrestler. He has committed to the University of Buffalo. Congratulations to him. So another McDougall has committed. Excellent news to wake up to. Shout out to him. We should have Justin on this week, maybe Friday. We'll try to get him on here on that Friday night show. Today is all about girls basketball from head to toe, top to bottom. We're going to talk about girls basketball today, the postseason awards and things of that nature. I'm going to be joined by Miguel Rodriguez from the Buffalo News and Matt Spielman from the Post-Journal. They're going to be in the second roundtable. And then I've got some coaches on first, along with Chris Durr, the Section 6 girls basketball chairman. He will be on with me as well. Brian Bakes from Wilson and Buchanan, Kristen Wegren from Grand Island, Coach Anthony Ottoman from St. Mary's of Lancaster, Nick O'Neill from Cardinal O'Hara, and I don't think I'm leaving anyone out. So that'll do it. Let's get right into our interviews. I don't want to waste a lot of time. Girls basketball up after a word from our sponsor.
Logistics Plus is a global transportation provider headquartered in Erie, PA, with locations worldwide, including right here in Western New York. Logistics Plus is consistently recognized as a fast-growing transportation and logistics company, great supply chain partner, top freight broker, leading project cargo manager, and a great place to work. With a strong passion for excellence, our 500-plus employees put the plus in logistics. Call our Buffalo office today for an efficient, personal approach for all of your transportation needs.
All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome back to WNY High School Sportsline. Today we have a very special show. I'm very excited to have all the girls softball end-of-season awards and just all the accolades come together in one big show. I've got the coaches in the morning, and then I'm going to have media a little bit later. And right now I've got some of the best coaches in Western New York joining me, and Coach Ottomano from St. Mary's of Lancaster. I've got Nick O'Neill from Cardinal O'Hara. We have Brian Baker from Wilson, who's also on the Buchanan board, and Kristen Wegren from Grand Island, and Chris Durr, the Section 6 basketball chairman and an official. I'm going to start with Chris Durr right off the bat. Good morning, Coach Durr. How are you?
Good morning, Frank. I'm good. How are you?
Good. I'm in that habit of calling you Coach Durr because right now you're supposed to be coaching a championship softball team.
Yeah, well, that's been frustrating, but we're all getting through it.
I wanted to send condolences out to you. I know we had a little chat. You lost your pup the other day, so I'm very sorry to hear about that.
Yeah, thanks. It was tough to go through, but doing better.
Never an easy thing.
No.
Mr. Durr.
Chris is fine, Frank.
You got a good look at what was going on in Western New York and maybe even from the state side of things. You had to make, or you were there when they made the ultimate decision to kind of cancel the Far West Regionals for the girls basketball, heading over to Section 5 there. They started out as having no fans to just wiping everything out completely. And just what went into that process? How are you involved? And my last question in regards to that is, will the girls be going back to Section 5 next year, or is that going to be a decision to be made later because they rotate year to year?
Yeah, well, let me handle the second question first. Obviously we have to work with Section 5. The executive directors I know have communicated. I've spoken with Larry Jones, our boys coordinator. We're obviously going to probably do opposite what the boys want to do. I think it would be unmanageable to try and host boys and girls in the same weekend and try and find a site to play them. So we'll end up doing whatever the executive directors decide. I think it's only appropriate to have the boys come here and us go to Section 5 because that's what each section missed out on. So I think that's going to be the ultimate decision. I would be in favor of that. I know Tim Lincoln and I have already talked about that. He's the Section 5 coordinator, and Tim and I have a really good relationship. We've been friends for a long time. So I think that's probably what's going to happen. As far as your first question, when we obviously, since the sectional finals on that Sunday, Tim and I were communicating. We knew that it was going to end up being up to his section and his county to make that decision. And then, of course, our county got involved and we weren't going to be sending any buses, and then all of a sudden it was going to be, okay, well, certain schools can go and other schools can't. That's what happened and ended up happening on, I think, Wednesday or Thursday of that week. And then ultimately, I think the decision was made appropriately that we don't want to be getting large groups together and putting kids at risk, and parents and grandparents at risk. And, as bad as I felt for all of those kids at the time, kind of pales in comparison to what the spring athletes are going through. So at least the basketball kids and wrestlers and indoor track athletes got to play their season, whereas now the spring athletes and the seniors are losing out on theirs. So ultimately a good decision at the time. I know it was frustrating for a lot of the teams that could have, advanced and gone further. I know, with certainly with the Catholic states being canceled, that was disappointing for them as well. So,
Chris, one of the questions that came in earlier this week when I announced that we were going to do this, a question came in kind of from left field, but it's worth asking, and I know it's a moot point now, but let's just say Section 6 said that we weren't doing the boys, but Section 5 elected said, you know what, we're not that bad here. We're going to risk it. With Section 6 saying no and those schools ultimately closing, would you still have sent those 5 teams, or because 6 said no, those teams are automatically disqualified from going to 5, had 5 stayed open?
Yeah, I think, Frank, it's a good question. I don't know what would have happened. Our school district was closing, so they weren't going to even let me travel there on that Saturday because they were saying we don't want people traveling outside the area. So as a chairman, I wouldn't even have been able to go just because my school district was not allowing us, had basically told us we shouldn't be traveling outside the county. So I think they probably, as much as we would have liked to seen some teams play, I think the decision had to be made on a group basis.
Understood. All right, we're going to go into the Monsignor Martin with Coach O'Neill, and I'm going to bring Nick O'Neill in studio right now. Coach O'Neill, how's your morning going?
Good, sir. Thank you for having me on the show.
So you had a number of girls, one former girl, a daughter, and one current player all commit or move on to the next level, so to speak.
Yes, sir. It was a very exciting week for me, my daughter, Cardinal O'Hara. She worked very hard to get to that point. She had some Division II offers coming out of high school. She wanted to have a shot at playing Division I, so put a path in for her to do that. And ultimately with Coach Nate, it worked out very well where she ended up having multiple offers for Division I.
Was that a difficult decision, difficult conversation to have with her at the point, just a couple years ago?
Yes, because she kind of wanted to just go in and go to the Division II school and just say, okay, it is what it is. After we talked, she really wanted to try and go for Division I. So I said, even if we don't do it, let's give it a try. And it ended up working out. I got to thank Coach Nate Patel. He was very instrumental in everything, working on her game, the recruiting process, and everything. So I got to take my hat off to him.
Yeah, Nate Butel from NCCC has had a lot of successful seasons. I know there's a new coach down at JCC, Ken Ricker, looking to take a shot at Nate in the coming years. So we're gonna have to see how that plays out and see if Nate loses any recruits to good old Ken Ricker down there in the Jamestown area. That's gonna be a fun battle to watch in the coming years.
I think the more coaches you have like Nate and Ken Ricker, it's better for the kids in Western New York. Gives them more opportunities to pursue their goals and dreams. And the JUCO route is not a bad route. They get knocked sometimes, but it worked out well for me and the other girl, Sierra Harrison, that's on there. She already has Division II offers, and the 2 Division I schools just reached out. So I think my team in, I want to say 2015, if Sierra ends up signing Division I, that will be 6 girls off of that team that signed Division I. And I don't think it's been anything like that since the Niagara Falls team.
Aaliyah Parker on your first team, and then all Catholic AA. You added two other girls added to that list, Mia McCarthy and Amelia Strong, of course, on that list. How was O'Hara shaping up for a deep run into the postseason?
We actually thought we could take it all this year because Christ the King was down this year, and that's kind of been our bugaboo up there. Always going up against a girl that ended up in the WNBA is pretty tough. Every time we play them, they either have the missed basketball or one of the top recruits in the nation. We have watched, after we have played them, we have watched the girls we have played in the McDonald's game. So when we go up there, it's a very difficult task because we're playing them at home, playing in front of a big crowd for them. And my kids have been getting better at it, and it seems like we'll do well all the way up until the final 4 minutes of the game, and then talent takes over.
Yeah, that's a case quite a bit in high school athletics. I'm going to go to Mr. Brian Baker, Section 6 from Wilson, also on the B Canning board. Brian, obviously Wilson didn't get to Buff State this year, but you had a really, really strong player, of course, and I always butcher this poor girl's name, Skylar Monikeisen?
Yeah, that's good. It's Monikeisen. Thanks for having me on the show. Yeah, she's a tremendous athlete, number one, great kid. She's going to pursue her high school athletic career and play Division I soccer at UB. One of the nice things about, the girls I coach, they might not necessarily be basketball first kids, but they're good athletes and they're really good in the classroom, which makes it fun and easy to coach.
So Skylar's going to go to UB for soccer, but do you see that she had a path to play basketball at the next level as well?
I think if she would have put the time in like she did with soccer, she was in Flash Premier soccer leagues all the way growing up. That's kind of hard to put that much time in for two sports. Like I said, she's just so athletic. She could have done anything that she put her mind to, but she really enjoyed the soccer, especially when she was younger. And to put the time, the money, and the effort into a sport and be rewarded, it's really nice to see.
So also saw that Anna Frericks at Izzy Deans. I can't pronounce her name.
Dinsey,
okay. Another two pretty good athletes for you. I know all three of those girls are leaving, so I don't know where that leaves Wilson next year.
Yeah, they ended up being first team all league in our Niagara Orleans league, which is a nice accomplishment for them. 3 seniors. Izzy's going to go on to St. John Fisher, and she's going to play volleyball. And Anna is going to play softball somewhere. Like I said, it's unfortunate that they're potentially losing a lot of their season right now. Those late offers coming in and, the kids missing out on stuff like that. It really hurts. But you know what? Just like her brother, any program that gets Anna is going to be very blessed to get her. She's a hard worker, and I'm looking forward to watching these kids beyond high school.
Brian, in regards to B Canny, I talked to Larry Jones, who's the president of the boys B Canny side of things. With the girls, how much damage are we looking at right now long term to some of those girls that may not be able to be seen in those showcase events they put together?
Yeah, they're talking about the Summer Hoops Fest now and trying to get a date and rescheduling. The problem is not being able to meet. So they're going to do some Zoom meetings and hopefully be able to talk through some of this. Coach Nick has done a great job helping out. And, the teams in the past have been very good. And, again, just give a shout out to Nate. Nate Butel puts in tremendous effort in the summer. And like I said, Coach Nick has helped out tremendously. And, and it's the potential that we have with this team and, this area, the Buffalo team is pretty impressive. So I hope they can get it on the ground running, but it's obviously a wait and see.
I'll come back to B Canny in just a little bit. There's more questions I want to ask as far as that program goes. Christian Wegren from Grand Island had the luxury of coaching Miss Lydia Sweeney the last few years, was the top player in the NFL this past season. Just talk about what's going on at Grand Island and, what happened there at Buff State. If you want to talk about that, we'd love to hear more thoughts. I'm sure you love to relive this.
Yeah, well, thanks again for having me on this morning. Yeah, I've been really lucky to have a player like Lydia be here at Grand Island. She's just one of those kids that always wants to be in the gym. She's a sponge of the game, and she just really wants to be the best that she can be. And so we had, a great year coming off of losing some girls last year with 6 seniors this year with kids stepping up. It was one of those years where even though we had 6 seniors, we still seemed really young because of what the kids put in last year and who got time and things like that. But I thought the girls did a really great job playing their roles and being able to, after losing our first 2 games to Elba and Newport, being able to go on a run there for a while and having a pretty competitive non-league schedule to get us ready for, not only the NFL championship. Newport and Lockport had great seasons this year. NT was able to battle a bit in there. So being able to come out strong against them and having that competitive game, those competitive games definitely got us ready for the postseason. Being an A2, we knew we were going to have a tough road ahead of us. But with what we did in the league, I thought we put ourselves in a really great position to get to Buff State. And then, anytime you're playing a team like Williamsville South, all those girls put in the time in the off season. They definitely have a couple collegiate players on their team, obviously with Amari committing to UConn, and Gretchen Dolan is probably one of the, the best young players around here. I think she's pretty versatile for her age. As Hannah Dolan, who doesn't get a lot of the spotlight. So, being with Amari and getting player of the year, I definitely can't argue with that. She is someone that you really have to plan for. She makes you change a lot of your offense, and you can mimic it as much as you want in practice, but when you get into a game, it's a whole nother story. And we missed a lot of easier buckets to keep it a little bit closer. But at the end of the day, she really came to play. Her team really came to play. And, I hand it to Coach Dolan. She's been creating such a great program over there and getting the girls to play in the season. And that's been a big push with our girls to get our girls going. Anybody that wants to compete with teams like Williamsville South, you have to be putting the time in the off season. It can't just be during the season. So that's something that we've been trying to change here at Grand Island, is really putting that time in the off season. And Lydia's been a real leader of that. So I'm just pretty, proud of my kids and what they were able to accomplish this season.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but don't you have an underclassman that's starting to really make some waves?
Yes, Brianna Barr. She's 6'1". She's a kid that's been putting in the time for a while now. She's one of those post players that she comes in with that grit and toughness that you don't have to coach. And that's something that coaches try to get out of their posts until they graduate. And that's one thing that already as an 8th grader now going into her freshman year next year, she already has. She's extremely coachable. She wants to be the best that she could be for her team. She looks up to Amari, and Amari had a really great conversation about her with me after the game for her to keep her head up. And she was positive with some of the things that she was doing against her in the game. And she was very surprised from a kid of her age, coming in strong against her. So, that kid's got a lot of potential. And I think we'll be seeing a lot of her down the line. And she's, like I said, she's willing to put in the work. So I'm really excited to have a kid like that here at Grand Island.
Excellent. Coach Adamano. How are you, Coach?
Good morning. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Good. Good to see you again. Shay Zeke. She is just deadly when she has that ball in her hands, man.
Chesky. Shay. Yes.
I can't even edit that.
Shay's a special player. And like many of the players that, are on that top tier, loves to work at her craft. She's, I said it before, she's a gym rat. If there's a gym, a park or something available, her garage, she's going to be out there dribbling, making her game better. But she's a crafty player, and it's because she puts in the time.
So I'm not going to even try to pronounce Lauren's last name, but she's another senior that gave you some – I'm sorry?
Novoisky.
I need Roger here to help me with this. So she had a pretty good season as a senior. I think she made first team AA as well as your daughter. Talk about coaching your daughter. I know Nick can help you with that too.
Yeah. I'll start with Lauren, the senior. She kind of came in 4 years ago, more on a whim of a couple of coaches trying to rebuild the program, and then fell in love with the school. And she was a 4-year starter. She's leaving St. Mary's as her all-time leading rebounder with 762 rebounds. 3 years, she had over 200 rebounds a season. Great teammate, great captain, leader, and probably more important, incredibly great student and great steward of St. Mary's to the community. She does so much volunteer work. She'll be going to St. John Fisher next year to play basketball with Coach Melissa Kaperka. And she's got a great program going there, so I think she's going to fit in well over at St. John's Fisher, and really just a foundation to the program. Coaching your daughter is never easy at any level or coaching a child. There's a fine line of pushing them and not showing any favoritism or any way from that standpoint. Sydney works at her game, and she's not incredibly gifted athletically as some of the other top tier players, but she is a consistent player for St. Mary's, and we try to balance that. The most important thing I try to talk to her about is that when we're in the gym and in between the lines, it's coach, and when we're in the car driving home, it's dad kind of thing. But we do our best to kind of keep that relationship separate from that standpoint.
I mean, it could be worse. You could be coaching against her at Buff State, up by 20 some odd points, or down by 20 some odd points, and then come back and beat your daughter. That had to be a long ride home for Coach Rick. I'm sure Chris talked to Ken about that at length, as I did the other day. That was a fun talk. Coach Adamano, the landscape of the Monsignor Martin right now with O'Hara, they have been the team with the bullseye on their back for quite a while now. But Sacred Heart is really starting to push teams as well. I know they're losing Siobhan Ryan, but some of those underclassmen they have there in the Sharks, and the job that Carrie Owens has done, which you knew she was going to bring that team back to the forefront quickly, and she has. But just talk about the landscape of the Monsignor Martin right now and how much tougher it's gotten.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, Carrie's team over there at Sacred Heart, obviously Siobhan, great player, deserves all the accolades, she gets. But she has her role players on that team have gotten better since last year. Freshmen, when they were mostly all freshmen turning into sophomores, she had a few freshmen this year that got key playing time and stepped up. I would expect most of that team to just continue to get better. I think all 5 of her returning role players, let's call them, minus Siobhan, are all playing AAU basketball. So they're players that are out there trying to get better every day. So I would expect that even though they may be losing Siobhan, they're still going to be a good team and extremely competitive, from that standpoint. And then, I won't say Nick is reloading, right? He's just staying consistent, and he's going to be tough to beat next year. So, it makes it fun, to have these competitive games and mark the schedules for, just to really test how good you are and how good you could maybe push yourself to be. So we love it, and we look forward to it.
I'm going to go back down to Brian Baker from Wilson again and just talk a little bit about what B. Canny needs, that particular program. What are the needs of B. Canny right now? Let's just put the COVID thing behind us. It seems like B. Canny needs more, I don't want to say volunteer so much, but just maybe more coaches to get involved with that program to kind of push that to the forefront. Because there seems to be a tremendous amount of power. There's a lot of good girls basketball players in Western New York. I don't know if all of them are able to showcase their talents as much as we kind of like to see outside of the high school environment.
Yeah, I think one of the things is just the membership drive. Our section is pretty low. with coaches and school districts that sign up to be members. And I know at times the information is tough to get out there. I try and push as much as I get. I think from the upper level, sometimes getting the information is a little bit tough and challenging, but I do like to get the stuff out as best as I can. To be eligible just for that Summer Hoops Fest, your coach or school has to be a member of BCANY. So we lose some good players just because the school or the coach is not a member. And I think a lot of it is because they don't know that. Chris Durr has done a good job of covering it in our preseason meeting, taking the time to go through that. We've got emails out there. Like I said, there's been coaches that have helped out in the past of the Summer Hoops Fest. I said, Coach Nick has been there. He's done it for a long time, and he did it way before I was even involved. But if we can get some of these top tier players and top tier athletes out there on this team, Nick knows the competition down there. It's pretty strong. But with the talent in Buffalo area and Section 6, I think there's a really good chance that some of these kids could really be showcased, and it also helps them get looks at college.
So for those that are ignorant to BCANY, don't know much about it, in a nutshell, what is it?
It's just a coaches organization. There's clinics. They run a great fall clinic, and actually we're going to talk about that. We've done some really nice clinics in the past. Coach Jack over at UB has opened up her practices. BCANY members are allowed to participate in some of these open practices. Just different opportunities. Their website's pretty good. It's got record holders on the website, still looking to get updated records from that. But it's a good thing for coaches to network. It's a good thing for players to become part of. And at the end of the day, again, it's just trying to showcase girls basketball and trying to make sure that, they get equal coverage. As you know, girls basketball does not typically get equal coverage on the men's side. So the more we can do it as coaches and as schools and school districts to promote women's and girls basketball, I think it's tremendous. And we have a good guy, sitting right here, Chris Durr. Well-deserved, by the way, Person of the Year award, Frank Martin Person of the Year award, and it's deserved because he does such a great job with girls basketball, and we're lucky to have him there.
Is there a membership fee for schools or coaches to join the BCANY?
Yeah, and it's on the website. If you just get on the BCANY website, I know at times, I'm not sure the price offhand, but I know at times that even during the year they offer half-off memberships. Actually last year they did free memberships. All you got to do is sign up.
Wow. Well, and the school has to pay for it.
School, in our district, I just get together with their coaches and we send it in as a coaching staff. And it covers your coaching staff. There's full membership where your coaches, you can get, 6 coaches or whatever on there for your school. And then you get discounted rates, with the clinics and stuff. But that's one of the things the Zoom meeting is going to be talking about besides the Summer Hoops Fest 2020 Fall Clinic. So hopefully we get some answers. That meeting is going to be April 23rd. So as soon as I get some info on that, I'll be able to get that information out.
I see membership for a new coach might be $39 for a head coach, $70 for a head coach, and up to 5 assistants. What WNY Athletics would like to do is offer the next 5 coaches not in BCANY full memberships for 5 coaches. We're going to put that out there. So if you're a coach not involved with BCANY right now, WNY Athletics will sponsor the next 5 coaches to sign up. That's a head coach and up to 5 assistants. So that's our pledge to you to get more coaches involved. Let's see if anybody come through. But the offer's open. My email is fwolf@wnyathletics.com. If you contact me today, I will pay in full your membership for the 2020-2021 season.
That's awesome, Frank. Thank you.
Let's see if we can't get some more coaches involved with that and bring more emphasis and more coverage of girls basketball. It's desperately needed. I think it's getting better, but we still got a long way to go. You guys know if a D1 school makes an offer to one of the boys, and God bless whoever that is, it's gonna be smack dab Buffalo News, Gazette, whatever. They're gonna pick that story up, and it's gonna be right there the following morning. For a girl, it might be a week before you see it. So we have to fix that. We have to get these girls the recognition, because the path to collegiate sports could be through athletics, as you guys all know. I want to go back to Coach Nick O'Neill again. Coach Monsignor Martin, your thoughts on the current landscape? I know I asked Coach Adamano about that, but from where you sit, which is with that big bullseye on your program, because of how successful your team has been these last decade, just talk about what it's like to play with those expectations year in, year out. And when you have new girls coming into the program, how hard is it for you to get through to them that, hey, you're not just here to, be a part of this ride. You need to step up and be a player. You need to be one of the driving forces to keep us at the top.
Actually, I really don't have to say a lot. We bring in the girls that are presently in college to come back and talk to the girls, and they see the path that if they do the right things, where they can end up. I remember when Angel was a freshman, we had Jonte Walton come back in and talk. She played her last year at Cardinal O'Hara, and then she went on to a school in Boston, I believe, Division I school, then she transferred to Edinburgh. But she pulled Angel to the side, talked to her, and told her, you have everything it takes to get to this level. And sometimes it's better coming from another player than actually coming from me.
Could you see that a player has what it takes, as long as they may have the raw talent, but how do you explain to them that they have it, but if they don't work at it and continually improve, that what they have at that point in their life, whether they're 9th or 10th grader, that if they don't continually work at the fundamentals, the basics, they're not going to get better overall, and the looks that they think they're going to get 2 years, 3 years from that point are just going to fade away? Like, how do you keep them motivated? I mean, you can tell a kid at 9th grade, he's got all the talent in the world. They may say, okay, what am I practicing for? Like, how do you keep them focused?
Every kid likes to play. So if you don't do a certain thing, you'll end up being one of the last persons to get into the game. Because we always have very talented teams, and it's tough for a freshman to come in and knock off a Summer Infield or get more time than an Andrea Ziegler. And then we had other players, Charlotte Parker, Corey Dixon. We always had a solid group that when you're a freshman, you had to work extra hard to just try and get a niche for time. And I really never had to push a kid to do any of that, because most of the kids we got coming into our basketball program, I usually have dealt with AAU, DCAN, something else that they kind of know how things go. So when they hit the gym knowing they have to work.
I'm going to go down to Christian Wegman from Grand Island. Kristen, a question I'm going to ask you, and I want to ask the others as well at some point. Where is the toughest place, the toughest gym to go in and play for your team outside of Grand Island? Because I'm sure it's very tough to play in that atmosphere. But outside of Grand Island's high school gym, what's the toughest atmosphere for you to play in or coach in?
Well, when it comes down to our league, I'd have to say Newport, hands down. We always have – the girls are always in a different mental space when we go there. They've been a league rival for a while now. And especially in the last 2 years, you can see that all of our games were competitive as well as gritty. It really came down to a huge defensive battle between both teams. So I'd have to say definitely Newport within the league, with their fans that come out and the support that they get there, the intensity that both teams bring. It's always a pretty gritty match. And I know, especially on our end, the girls definitely come in a little mentally different. So I would definitely have to say that Newport is one of our hardest places to play.
What's it like, or can you tell by watching these young girls when they walk into Buff State for the first time, you've taken your team there the last couple of seasons, what's it like walking into Buff State for the first time, a gym that's 3-4 times the size of what you normally play in?
I see on their faces a sense of accomplishment. You never want to be there and just say, hey, we got here. Like let's settle, whatever happens. And I know that the team that I had last year versus this year definitely came in with different mentalities. And so again, like I said, I think it's just a sense of accomplishment, a sense of pride, to be able to represent your school in a gym like that, with the spectators that a gym like that provides, with the competition that is there. You really can't be anything but proud of yourself because, not many teams or programs make it there from year to year. So be able to, for the girls to be able to get there for 2 years in a row, it was definitely a sense of pride. And I was very proud to see their, the smiles on their face as they walked through those doors.
Coach Trister, I'm going to ask you, out of those 5 teams that won Section 6 titles, who did you like the most? As I got to put you on the spot. You knew I was going to put someone on the spot. So I apologize.
That's all right.
Anthony, don't get too comfortable because I'm coming back to you with almost the same question. But Chris Durr, who did you like out of those 5 teams to go into Section 5 and have success there and maybe even further down the line? Who did you really like?
Well, Frank, I think, unfortunately, it being canceled, I think we had a great shot this year. Panama has a lot of experience. Obviously, Williamsville South had a lot of experience. Orchard Park, I know, was a competitive team that was kind of up and down as the season goes with their league, but was turning around at the right time. Watching Ken Ricker's team play was just amazing to watch that comeback that they had in that fourth quarter, and they could have, taken that momentum into regionals, I believe. It's always nice to have a team back when I coached that no one expected to be there and they could just play and not have to worry about it. I know Nick's not been in that situation much. Sometimes the pressure of competing at that level is tougher than just a team showing up and saying, let's go after it. So I think we had a very good chance to get a number of schools through. And that's probably the most disappointing thing about this year in regards to regionals and states.
From an official's perspective, what do we need to do to get more officials into the game, taking those tests? What can we do to kind of shed more light on the fact that we do need more officials? How can we recruit more officials to not just the girls' game, but all of sports?
Yeah, I think, Frank, it starts with us as high school coaches. I think it starts with respect. I think it starts with us respecting the job that officials have. I think it starts with coaches respecting the job. I've always been a fan of back when you really didn't get a lot of officials coming out for scrimmages before they paid for scrimmages where coaches had to referee. It puts you in a different position when you have to actually referee a game. You understand, and being on both sides of that for over 25 years of being a coach and being an official and an umpire, I think respect is the first thing. And then recruiting wise, I think we as coaches can do a very good job of making sure that kids that understand the game give back to the game. You have to love officiating. You can't just do it for the money. But I think it's also good for us to encourage our kids to give back to the game, even if they're in a local college. It's a good part-time job. If they're not going to continue their basketball career at the next level, and they're just going to be going to college, it's a good way to earn some extra money and get out there and give back. And when you first start out officiating, you don't start at varsity. You start at the modified in 7th and 8th grade and little league, so to speak. So you can teach the game at the same time that you officiate the game, especially at those younger levels.
Thank you. Coach Adamano up there at St. Mary's. From your perspective, how did you like those Monsignor Martin teams as they were about to head out towards states? And what'd you think of Western New York's chances are statewide?
I have to agree with Nick. His team probably had a really nice shot to contend down there and maybe take it all. He knows the team better than me, but they had a squad that, from my perspective, from when we played them early in January to March 6th, they continually got better and peaked, and that's what you want your team to be doing, peaking at playoff time. Our best shot to beat O'Hara was that first game when we had a 3-point game, 4-point game, I think, with 4 minutes left, and then they took over, right? So I really liked his chances there. And then, Sacred Heart going as an A, I think they probably had a really good opportunity as well. When you get a senior with that much experience in Siobhan, who's been down there a few times, the girls went last year as well in the same position, meaning the girls from Sacred Heart. I think that experience from last year probably would have helped them. I wasn't 100% sure who they were going to match up against, I forget, but given the talent that they had with the experience, and they had they played a couple of nice non-conference schedule games also. They probably both had a nice opportunity, I think, and would have represented Western New York really well.
I know Shay will be a junior next season. Without possibly having these summer showcase events, is it going to be tough for her? She's obviously gifted, incredible ball player, great basketball player. She's going to get her looks, and as you know, when you go into some of these gyms, there's already coaches there taking a look at her, some maybe a recruiter here and there. This junior season is important for her, but is she at any disadvantage not having that growth over the summer or that real team competition? Is that going to hurt her at all in any way, or any of these sophomores or juniors?
I don't think in Shay's position it'll help her. Her notoriety kind of started last spring, summer. She got some looks, and that momentum has kind of taken her through this basketball season. She has 30, 40 teams looking at her, right now. It hurts her from maybe a bigger visibility of some bigger Power 5 schools maybe looking at her. But we're hoping she gets back out there, and gets more visibility. I know she'll be fine. Like I said, she's going to keep working, and hopefully we get out there some way. I think what it hurts more so is the juniors now that are moving into the senior year, that this is their big look kind of year. Ava Actel on our team's a junior, has some upside, really super soft touch, from 15 feet and in. Sydney would be one of those girls to benefit. Any girl that's that junior finishing going into their senior year are probably the ones that are getting hurt a little bit more versus the sophomores moving to juniors and those freshmen. So we'll see how it plays out with maybe we get some extensions or they open up the summer, AAU into August or September. We'll just have to wait and see.
That's what we're all hoping for. I'm going to go down to Brian Baker to kind of ask him one more question here. Brian, you play up in the Niagara Orleans League, and it's a very tight group of schools up there. But it will always remind me of like Hoosiers. You play in some gyms that are just the entire town comes out. So out of all those Niagara Orleans schools, not Wilson, we're not going to focus on Wilson, but what are those gyms that you just absolutely love going to and watching your team compete in and coaching and being a coach?
I mean, the Wilson-Newfane rivalry is something special. When I first started, I didn't really understand it because I was at Lockport, but it didn't take long for me to quickly understand the competitive nature between both schools and wanting to win. Newfane's gym is fantastic. Small little gym. When we play there or they come to us, those gyms are packed. Everybody in the towns, villages are out to watch those games, whether it's boys or girls games. And our fans, their fans really travel well. Playoff time, being at Buff State a couple of years ago, just remember how many fans actually were out there. So Newfane Gym is great, a little small gym. Another pretty cool gym is Roy Hart's gym. Roy Hart's gym it's like it reminds me like an old auxiliary gym, just a small, tiny gym. You put a couple hundred fans in there and it's super loud. You're not able to communicate. Your voice is gone after the game. So those are a couple of the gyms that are pretty cool in our league. Albion's gym kind of sets up almost like a Buff State. Buff State's a tough shooting gym because the background's different than most of the year. Most of the gyms in high school have the tight walls up against the backboards. You get to Buff State's wide open. Albion's similar. They got a huge, almost like a jumbotron in the middle of their court. So it puts a little different perspective on it. Yeah, but I really enjoy coaching in this league. A bunch of great coaches, hardworking coaches, and the kids are super.
And then I got to ask you, every summer you run that camp up there. You have a number of coaches that come up to Wilson. What right now is the thought process on running your camp this year, and what is like the contingency plan, if you will?
Yeah, I was talking to Coach Sipple the other day, who I run it with, and we thought right now at this time, obviously we're not going to be promoting it at all, but we're hoping if things open up, maybe even potentially pushing the camp into August, maybe later on. I know once we can get everything opened up and safe again, not only are the kids going to want to get out of the house, but I think the parents are also going to want to get the kids out of the house for a couple minutes. So we're hoping, just to get the kids out playing again. But obviously safety is first, and you need to take care of that. So we're always last week in June for our camp, but we'll see. If we have to push it, we'll try and push it just to get the kids out there playing.
Well, coaches, I appreciate y'all coming in today and doing this thing with me. And I know a lot of people are going to be tuning in to hear what you guys had to say. And you maybe get some nasty emails. Probably not, though. Probably not. They'll just trash talk you on Twitter, maybe. But hopefully not too much. I would love to see all four of your basketball teams at Kenmore West this winter when we do our WNY Athletics High School Girls Hoops Fest, if we get to have that. I know a lot of you guys already said yes to that. We'll put you up against the toughest competition we can find for you and make your teams better. And more than anything, just showcase girls basketball in Western New York. Chad does a great job with Center Court and the 5 or 6 games he does for the Center Court Classic. And it's something we wanted to kind of mimic with the girls. And honestly, I'd like to do more than one. I'd love to have one maybe, at Kenmore West, but I'd love to take a look at one of those gyms up there in the Niagara Orleans, Brian, and just paint that small town culture and just pack the place and just have a nice tournament up there, and do one down in the southern tier, maybe at Dunkirk or even at Southwestern. So pleasure having you guys all on today, and hope to have you guys on again soon.
WNYathletics.com is the premier high school sports website in Western New York, providing the best sports coverage of Section 6 and Monsignor Martin leagues. Check out our page for daily game recaps and late-breaking sports news. Our online scoreboards are updated in real time. Never miss a goal or touchdown. Visit WNYathletics.com today, or follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube.
WNY Athletics High School Sportsline. I am now joined by Mr. Miguel Rodriguez from the Buffalo News Sports Department and Matt Spielman from the Post-Journal. We had them on last week for the boys basketball postseason roundup. We discussed that at length, and I'd like to do that again with the girls today. We had the coaches on a little bit earlier, and now I'm joined by two of the more respected web report writers in Western New York and the Southern Tier, and Miguel and Matt. So I'm happy to have them both on today. And I'm going to start with Mr. Miguel Rodriguez, who unleashed his all Western New York girls postseason awards, first, second, third team, and down the line, honorable mentions. That was in print on Sunday with photos from the lovely and talented Harry Skull and their team of photographers at the Buffalo News. So, Miggy, great job again, as always, on the All Western New York. I know it's a very, very time-consuming to put that together. It's not something that can be done overnight. It's a collection of efforts that takes months to get ready for. So you got the all Western New York selections done, and how much negative feedback? How many emails did you get in the last 48 hours saying my daughter was this and that?
I only got one.
That's good.
I only got one. So I mean, I guess that's either that's good or we need more people reading. But when we look at the one that is okay with that more of the okay, we got the top 20, more or less the proper top 20 honored there, the 1 through 4.
In respect to the boys and the girls all Western New York, and really this goes for any sport, is it tougher to put the top 5 in or tougher to do the last 5, if you will?
Well, sometimes the number 5 spot's tough. I mean, but the number 20 can be just as the last spot for the, because we only do one first. We do 1st through 4, and everyone else is honorable mention. So it's like sometimes number 20, it's harder to identify than some because there's so many kids there's so many worthy kids out there. You know, it's, as my predecessor Keith McShay would say, it is a cruel arithmetic. Whittling the list down, even the honorable mentions, whittling them down. That's kind of a tough process too and stuff. Just because it's like, yeah, there are a lot of kids out there that had good seasons. You like to see them get reward for it. So,
I'm going to ask the same question to Mr. Spielman in just a second here, but Miggy, does it keep you up at night sometimes worrying about the fallout from things like this? Because, I mean, I've put some lists out in the last few years for football and other sports, and, you know, you get the hecklers when you're at a game maybe sometimes. Hey, you know, there's this kid here that's, you know, been playing since he was a 7th grader, and I can't believe he never gets talked about. Or, you know, you guys missed this kid, or how come this kid didn't make it, or this team's never ranked. I mean, do you have those times where you're just like, I don't know if it's worth it to put these out?
I had no trouble sleeping. So anyone knows me knows. I mean, you know, in my time doing this, because I inherited the beat like 2014. There's maybe 1 or 2 instances where I was like, where I might have been, did I get it totally right, or did I miss on someone? And I mean, it is what it is. I mean, there are a couple of times where I put kids on the 3rd team that have wound up having better college careers than some of the ones that are on 2nd or 3rd team, 1st team. So we're still talking about high school kids, and it's just the best guess. I mean, you're honoring what they did, and it's not. If it was an exact science, I mean, we get it right all the time. For the most part, you just hope you get it right 99 or 98% of the time, and I mean, in football, it's a little. Well, let's say it's a little easier, mostly because I had Dick Gallagher doing most of the work for me. God bless that man. The Patriots saying that's just you know, that's just going over it with him and a couple muddle huddle sessions over him over a chicken cutlet meal over Penny and pasta over at
Good old chefs.
Yeah, it's chefs. I was gonna name it, but just a couple chefs' lunches, maybe a Sorrentino's run in Williamsville, and then figuring it out that way, and mix in a couple other people I know over the phone and do it that way. But I mean, basketball, it's like we got so many more involved. Where I mean, set out close to 20 ballots for boys and girls. Then you just add them up, and then then you just look at it and it's just like, okay, either that makes sense or it makes sense for this one. Maybe it'd be a little bit higher than that one. I mean, I'll tell you for one thing, the number 20 spot for the girls there's about 8 kids that are just like, wow, I got 8 kids to choose from for one spot here, where I pretty much, I mean, whereas like they're all similar. So I mean, it was
You
like, so it was like,
so you're down to that last 8, okay? You're down to that last 8. Do you take? You're wrestling over the decision, okay? Are you looking at what year they are? Like, well, maybe this is a senior, and you've had her in the final 5 or 6, 8 the year prior, and here she is again. Maybe I'll just throw her in there. Does that come into play at all? Does that help you decide
I
on
mean,
which way you're leaning? Could
yeah,
it?
I mean, sometimes the class year does. Sometimes how they did before, and also how they did in their league and how their team did. And I mean, in this instance, it was like this kid was, well, she was on a great team, and she got highly honored by her league. At that point, and it's like put that up against all the other ones. I'm like, oh, well, that makes sense. Put her on over. And I mean, that ended up being kind of the tiebreaker there. So that makes sense. I go with you over you, and you. So I mean, that was. I mean, it's try to factor all that in, and then you just hope that there were no shenanigans at the league meeting or anything, which sometimes can happen. I mean, and
All in good
go
fun.
about that way. I mean, it's I mean. But I mean, for the most part, I mean, most of the people they get that. Yeah, they get that. I mean, if we miss someone, it's not that it's nothing malicious. It's just, well, I mean, there's a lot of other kids. There are a lot of kids. There are a lot of kids that are worthy. We had to make a tough call, and that's just. I mean,
It's not life or death.
yeah. I mean, it's not like I'm trying to cure the coronavirus or anything.
Would you get on that, please?
I'm just trying not to catch it and bring it home.
Tell me about it. I'm going to go up to Mr. Spielman here. Matt, always a pleasure having you guys on for the Post Journal. You guys put your top lists out for the region in which you cover, and then it crosses over into what Miguel does. But I know in respect to what Miguel put out this week, for CCA East 1, he had Danny Haskell from Franklinville, and Alan Dunlop and Inga Welty were his co-coaches of the year. And then in East 2, he had Najani Kennedy from Salamanca and Braille Wallen, her coach, as coach of the year. In West 1, it was Nadara Odell from Dunkirk, and then West 2, Natalie Angeletti, Panama, and then co-coaches of the year, Emily Eckwell Sherman and Todd Freiberger from Cassadaga Valley. Miguel, was Ken Ricker your coach of the year? Hang on. Oh, sorry. Sorry about that.
No, we don't pick a coach of the year.
You don't? Well,
no, we do not.
I'm asking you, though. I'm putting you on the spot real fast. If you had to pick a coach of the year, I'll make it easy for you. Throw me 3 without putting in any.
O'Neill, Dolan, and probably Ricker.
Okay. All right. See, I'm smarter than I thought I was. I knew exactly who you were going to say. Actually, I'm lying. I had no idea who you were going to say. I knew Ricker was up there, though, and I figured Dolan and O'Neill. But anyways, back to Mr. Spielman. I got to unmute you there. There we go. Matt, I know you have a crew down there that obviously involves Scott Kinberg, but the choices that they had made in terms of league players of the year from East 1 and 2, West 1 and 2, is that pretty much in line with how you guys saw things down there?
Yeah. I think they're printing the league all-stars that come out for those ones. And Portville's not our circulation, Franklinville's not our circulation, so I mean, if Franklinville's in ours, then Danny Haskell's an easy, probably our easy player of the year. But yeah, coach of the year, it was, I mean, from early on this season, it was Ricker above everybody, just from what he's done in the past and every team he takes over. I mean, Dunkirk, those are 5 talented seniors. He could have done that with a lot of talented groups of kids, because I think that's what he does with that style of play, if you shoot 35 or 40%, that style of play is going to give you enough possessions to beat almost any team. I mean, they're going to get the same. You still got to get stops because that other team's still going to get as many possessions, but their defense turned over other teams so much that if you shoot just a mediocre to okay percentage, you're going to win that many games. And I think that's a credit to Ken and his style and his system.
The senior girls in the area which you cover, Matt, who among them do you believe that is going to play at the next level, already committed, whether it's at the JUCO route? Who do you like as maybe being really good at the next level and having some success at the collegiate level out of those players that you covered this past year that are moving on?
Yeah, I think, this JCC team down here next year with Ken moving on there is going to be a real interesting team to watch, with getting a couple of those Dunkirk girls that he's had for a couple of years. In that region, it's been Niagara County, and then the rest for the last couple of years since Monroe kind of fell off. And I'm hoping that with Ken taking over down here, he's really gonna push to get JCC back up to that level. And with that system and a couple of those girls and his ties to the AAU scene and across Western New York, I think he's really going to bring in some talent that they've been lacking for a couple of years. They've gone a lot of local recently, which is great for the local girls. But to compete at that level, I think they need to go outside of Chautauqua and Cattaraugus County, at least up to Erie County and maybe some Rochester girls. And who knows how far Ken can extend his reach down here. Yeah. Natalie Angeletti is going to play at Damon, and she's our player of the year. And it's that jump from high school to college where she's tall and she's a big girl in high school, but at college she's going to have to play more of a three or maybe even a guard. And these last couple of years, her dad Jeff has been expanding her game to do that. And she brought the ball up. She was making passes out of a full court press, and she was shooting threes this year that she hasn't done in the past. And I think she's really developed into that, knowing she might have to do that at the next level.
All right. Miguel, we talked about some of the players in the Southern Tier, the players that you covered, that you watched the most, that are moving on. They're well known, but who do you like really to elevate their game at the next level?
Oh, I'm curious to see how Danny Haskell does at Canisius, obviously. I mean, she's a little 5'8". That might be a little short for maybe she can run the point, I think, maybe be a 2, but I'm curious to see how she does there. She's a great worker. She's the all-time league scorer in Western New York, number 2 in the state. I've seen her run away from double and triple teams in Ballarat, which is quite impressive. Syracuse smarts down smart. I'm curious to see how she does at the college level. See if maybe she can help that program get on to. They've been stuck in a rut for a while. Maybe she can help be one of the kids that helps sparks them. Angeletti, who 6 years there for Panama. It's unfortunate we get to see her in a state tournament for the 4th time. We'll be curious to see if she can help them win the state title this year. She's going to be another good one. Matt's right. See how she does against 6 foot against high school kids it's one thing, but it's nice to see that her father was the coach there. Helped her expand her game, just prepare her for college. I'm trying to think of the ones there in the Southern Tier. I'm drawing a blank here. I always saw the 2 Dunkirk kids, Odell. Well, Odell, she's a senior. Kimmy, is she a senior or junior? I forget.
Kimmy's senior.
I always saw them play the one day, and it was a quarter. It was 35-2. The 35-2 comeback. So we like to see. Are they both going to play for Ken down at JCC, or is it just one of them?
I know that Nance is for sure. I'm not sure about Abdel.
he'll get. I mean, he'll get. I mean, that's a nice little. It's a nice little block to have there. He'll get a lot out of her there.
I thought I heard Beeler was heading there from Dunkirk.
Yeah, she was. Yeah, she is. That's another nice one.
Miguel, what about Shaban going down to Richmond?
I mean, the
Yeah, that's
Richmond coach came and saw her play earlier this year against St. Mary's. I mean, but she's good.
Yes.
I I didn't see her play as much as I saw her sister Michaela play. But she's if you're going Division One, you're good, and she can handle a rock. She can shoot the three, and she's pretty much. I mean, they had some young kids that are going to be good down the road for Sacred Heart, but she had to take more of the bull by the horns this year for them, and for the most part, she was. I mean, she gave a chance to win on most nights, and she did good. I mean,
how do you like Sacred Heart in that A division long term with Monsignor Martin this past winter? Had the season continued?
Had the season continued, the state Catholic A tournament, they probably. I mean, it's not as tough as the Double A, obviously. I mean, they probably could have. They probably could have won that. I mean, better 50-50 chance. That'll just be a matter of how they would have done the Federation and the matchups there. Because that's. But yeah, it would have been. There were a lot of questions there. Well, there are a lot of things I would like to have seen happen during this postseason if this pandemic didn't happen. I mean, I think Will South probably would have won the Federation or had a very good chance to, provided they got by Mendon, which they beat earlier this year. And they should have beaten Mendon last year when they faced them during the regular season. And then Mendon ended up, coming back and winning that game. And that was just like one of however many in a row they ended up winning, going all the way to winning the Federation that year. I mean, that was. When I saw them, South had them on the ropes and the Bear got into foul trouble. That opened the door for them to come back. But that would have been interesting to see what would have happened there. And then Dunkirk. 24-1. They've won how many in a row? About 20. I don't know what their winning streak was there towards the end. You post a 35-2 comeback run to come back in a sectional final. It's a good team. You can't help but think that could be like a team of destiny there. I would like to see just how far they could have gone. Same with Holland with those. They had three threats that could carry them, including two biggies and Claire Pickett and Mila Klein. That's tough to handle in Class C. And then there's Panama, which you're taking on Will South and you're hanging with Will South. That means you're good. You don't want to lose by 15 to Will South. There's no shame there because they're Class A. So I would like to see if they could have gotten the job done this time and stuff. But no, it's a lot of, it's just like the boys. I think a lot of our girls teams this year could have done very well to just stay tournament round. It's just who saw this coming? Who thought a pandemic could ruin it? Could kind of disrupt everyone and change our way of life the way it is.
Yeah. Matt, with the way things did play out, obviously there was a lot of high hopes for Panama, but now that we've moved on from the winter season, how much of an effect will this pandemic and the closures and the just not knowing how things are going to play out and how soon they're going to play out, is that going to affect like the AAU season down there that I know Ricker runs a nice program there, I believe Jamestown Elite? How is that going to affect some of those younger girls that really cling to those summer showcases?
Yeah, Ricker had already tweeted out in the last week or two a couple summer tournaments that had already been canceled, and I think it's all a waiting game right now, but it doesn't look good for the summer. I think Section 11 tweeted out that they canceled spring sports.
8 and 11.
the state retweeted that, and they have a decision, I think, April 27th after they get the input from sections. But I mean, I don't think you can find anybody that would be optimistic about that decision right now. So I think, I mean, if schools don't go back, I think that puts another whole new date on it. If they don't go back this spring, summer, then what's to say we don't make a decision before September? I mean, it's hard to, I mean, I know those are separate, you know, the AAU stuff is separate from high schools and as far as regulation and stuff, but I think it's going to be tough to say schools didn't go back for 3 months and let's go ahead with all the rest of this before making a decision on September and schools in September. So, I mean, I hope they get at least to get back in the gym and be able to do stuff on their own, whether they go, you know, to Kentucky or Virginia or New York City for tournaments. Hopefully they can at least get back together with their team so they can be in the gym over the summer and work on their games, at least on their own as a team.
In a week since we talked, I got to believe that the sentiment in your area is pretty much the same as it was then. You're still not too optimistic and just too much of an unknown. Are you guys prepared for them to come down and say there will be no spring season? Are you in that mind frame right now? And if they do have something, that's cherry on top, but are you playing it as if there won't be a spring season?
Yeah, I was thinking about this earlier with the Section 11 decision and leaving it up to the sections, but then the governor saying they're going to kind of reopen things regionally or try to do that. Buffalo could be a whole different ballgame than Chautauqua County, but I don't see Section 6 saying Erie County schools you can't play, but Chautauqua and Cattaraugus you can because you know the disease isn't in your counties. They're not going to. I don't think they're going to do that. It's going to be a Section 6 decision, which could negatively affect our rural schools down here because we might be lumped into that. Whether we're lumped into the New York City or not, we might be lumped into a Buffalo Section 6 decision that might hurt our kids for no, you know, it's kind of random, but you have to look at a bigger city in Buffalo and population density, whereas down here we don't have that. But I think it's going to be a Section 6 thing that kind of cancels it all.
I would agree. Miguel, I wanted to ask you, are you preparing for there to be no spring season as well?
I mean, it's the Long Island decision yesterday. It's getting grim. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. Excuse me. I wouldn't be surprised if they say that they cancel all the state championships on Monday and maybe hold out hope that each individual section might be able to have like a semblance of a season, depending on what the governor, depending on whether May 15th ends up being May 15th for the closes or whether the pause initiative gets extended. I mean, I'm thinking that. I mean, if you want to play it, it's better to maybe play it. I think it's better to be safer than sorry, though. I mean, some of the seniors would obviously be disappointed. I mean, I think you have to just make sure that this thing is contained. I mean, we're slightly behind New York City in terms of. I mean, they got struck first. It just kind of worked its way on down. I mean, I'm not sure we've totally hit the peak. They say they think we have, but I'm not really sure. So, I mean, I just don't. I mean, I think it's gonna be tough to like have them have a season unless there's legitimate evidence there. And I mean, enough proof that the virus is under control and that they're going to be willing to open schools on May 15th. If it extends it again, I mean, you're almost getting into June, and from the Catholic point of view, most of their seniors graduate by the end of May. I mean, it's going to be tough. I mean, I don't think they're going to be able to have it, though. From a selfish point of view, I mean, it gives me more to do, though, if they do say, okay, we're going to have a season, even if it's a month or so. So I mean, that's they could hold out hope. I just don't think it's going to happen.
Could you ever see a season starting without spectators?
I mean, they've had every now and then they've had games without spectators
All right.
here
I
and
mean,
there.
Lockport Niagara Falls
I
basketball.
mean, they could. I mean, if it's a way to get the kids a season, I mean, fair play. I mean, that's better than nothing. I mean, okay. We're gonna let you kids play. The only people we're gonna let in here are gonna be the game officials and sorry parents. I mean, maybe let them each get one parent, but not both, or just close it all off to fans, including parents, and just people you're gonna have there are gonna be the game officials and the kids, and maybe let a couple media members in there to document it, and then go about it that way. I mean, that would be better than nothing for the kids, and I mean, which maybe that's the way they go, but. I'm gearing up for the Kensington Lions All-Star Games being the first major event back in Western New York, and trying to wonder just how many people are going to show up for a high school All-Star football game that wouldn't have shown up before, just because it's like they haven't seen a sporting event since March.
Well,
That's what I'm gearing up for.
I did speak to Len Thornton within the last couple of weeks, and he said as of now, plans are on for that game. It's funny that a lot of times when we get around to it, all the seniors that finally commit and they get around to it, you can see which ones stopped working out at the end of the football season and the ones that continued on through. Well, when we get to that, if we get to that All-Star game, I think it's going to be 50-50, where it's usually like 70-30. It might be like 50-50, where you can tell which ones were working a little too hard at the pizza joint and not in the weight room.
No. I mean, with this pandemic, I mean, you never know. It's like a lot more downtime than you normally would. But then again, that'd be interesting to see. Just from a spectator, I wonder how many more people would come out to see the game. It draws a big crowd as it is. But I want to see how many more would end up showing up that wouldn't show up, just because it's like, hey, there's a sporting event. Oh my God, let's go see what it's all about. Because
which brings me up to the point of, if they do have some showcases, AAU tournaments, usually it's just parents and some random coaches showing up to watch those. They might have all-time high in attendance for an AAU showcase event around here.
If they're allowed to play, I mean,
yeah.
But right now, even they're at a standstill. I mean, what I find interesting is, when I did that Williams-Lee story on the softball team that ran today. I mean, at least the kids I talked to, their travel seasons they're still up in the air. Okay, they haven't been canceled or anything, so they're still. They're still hopeful they will have their season, which doesn't start till I think the second week in June or so.
An email came through today from the Lou Gehrig league, in which my son would be playing in, and they said as of now, they're planning on having still a house and travel season, but we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. Of course, they play in the Williamsville School District, use some of their facilities, and if you can't use their facilities, you can't really have a season.
Yeah,
Matt,
that's true.
Down in your neck of the woods, what are they saying about even those youth baseball, softball leagues? I don't want to get too far off the girls' basketball show here, but.
Well, we have this isn't baseball, softball, this football, like you were talking with Kensington, the Big 30 Classic between Pennsylvania and New York. That's at Bradford High School. That's scheduled for August 1st, and we're still receiving roster emails announcing the kids that are on that team. And we have some, I think, Southwestern, Randolph, Frewsburg, some of those schools take part in that, Ellicottville, Salamanca. We're still getting emails on those, and they're still going on as planned August 1st for that. My kids play local, like Frewsburg Little League, but that, Little League stuff that would have already been started. Obviously, we haven't done anything with that, and that only goes till the start of June, so that is likely out the window. Jay Graham from Frewsburg runs the Southern Tier Regulators travel team, and I think that doesn't look good right now, but it's it's the same. I think if the governor goes from that May 15th and adds another 2 weeks to May 29th, I think that's going to do it for schools. And you're going to be looking at, probably the whole month of June is going to be out the window and looking after the 4th of July at that point.
Back to Miguel again. Just recapping this season, games that you saw this year that were. Give me the top 3 games you saw this year.
Okay. Well, I only caught the end of it, but we got to throw Dunkirk Southwestern in there. Top 3 games I caught. Amherst didn't have as good of a season they've had in the past, but they did beat O'Hara, and that was a good game. It was an interesting game. And then, I had to go with O'Hara St. Mary's the first time I saw them play this year. That was as JR would say, I was a slobber knocker of a game there at O'Hara there, stuck in the corner there with Roger Weiss and Harry Skull and a bunch of other media members there. So that was a fun game to watch. I didn't cover; I was off that night, so that was just like. But it's like, well, I got to see this game. This is going to be good.
Is there outside your list, or maybe she is in your list, but someone that really wasn't on the radar? Is there a girl or a group of girls that really showed you that this could be a special player in a year or two? Did anyone jump out at you?
Pickett.
From Holland.
Maybe I was someone we missed last year for honorable mention. Our coach will definitely tell me, yes, that's someone you missed. Because I think she led the section in rebounding last year. But they had such a better season this year. Plus, she had the scoring to it. That was one of those that she made the dramatic jump and just hearing the dynamics. The dynamic that she gave him helped give him. She could play high or low posts. It made him tough to defend, especially with Mila out there, and her other 2 sisters are able to shoot from outside. It made them such a tough team to deal with. That was someone that stuck out. Gretchen Dolan made a significant jump from last year to this year from Will South. She was. In that sectional final, when against Hamburg, when DeBerry had to sit out that little 8-minute stretch there, I thought that might have been the opening for Hamburg to come back and maybe take a lead. But Gretchen along with her older sister Hannah, but more Gretchen, she held them together during that stretch coming up. It was more so the way she played defense and made sure the other team couldn't get any real good chances to score just by how playing, tough man-to-man defense, stealing the ball, and just being in her opponent's face. Plus, I think she scored like eight key points during that run to make sure that when Amari did come back in the game, that was pretty much okay. She left the game with like a 10-point lead, and she came back and it was still 10. So she helped steady. That was a big reason there. Okay, you're definitely somewhere in the top 20 after seeing that. Just seeing that performance, and then someone else that jumped out. I'm trying to think here.
How about this Fenn girl?
Oh, Darren's daughter.
Yeah.
I liked what I saw of her. The brief. She came up huge for him with Stevenson in foul trouble.
Yeah.
In that sectional foul. She still got some. She has a lot of potential.
Yeah.
She still has some stuff she has to get better at. But she has some nice little post moves already for an 8th grader, and she showed that when she was pressed into action there in that final against Clarence during the overtime period where it was the
Were you
go-ahead
on-
basket. That was just a nice little, sweet little. She didn't pack, nice little couple of dribbles. You think she was maybe too far on the basket, but a couple of dribbles, got the defend gal, avoided the defender, got herself in a nice little position to put that up and in. So that's going to be someone that might be someone to keep an eye on right there. Plus, plus we know, anyone that's from that follows basketball here, knows the success of her dad. As a player, high school, college, and pro level. So it's going to be someone you want. As the Emperor said in Phantom Menace, I'm going to follow your career with great interest, young man.
All right, Mr. Spielman, some of the games that you recall this past year that really stuck out at you, and then same question in terms of talented players down in your neck of the woods. Who stood out to you that might not have necessarily been on the radar prior to the start of the season?
The first Maple Grove Dunkirk girls game was crazy because that was early in the season, and Dunkirk, we didn't know how many they were going to rattle off, and Maple Grove led for a bunch of it, and I think just at the end Dunkirk knocked them off. Then when Southwestern went up to Dunkirk, our sister paper, The Observer, covered it, but that was Nance hit a game winner at the end of that one where Southwestern had almost knocked them off. They came back to Southwestern, and Dunkirk won by a couple more points. But again, you could see that if somebody was going to knock off Dunkirk, it might be Southwestern. And then obviously they went to Buff State, and everybody knows what happened there. I was following that on Twitter because The Observer covered that again, and it was you thought there was typos, you thought there was people not knowing which team was which when you started seeing the tweets about the score, what the score was, and what the score became.
I think I'm guilty of that. I think I put the wrong score out a couple times.
Oh, I wasn't. Yeah, it was nuts. Like, no, you can't be right. Like they were up by 20. Like that can't be the score. And then I was lucky enough to see Holland Franklinville down here at JCC. The youngest Klein hit the go-ahead three. Franklinville. You have Section 6 all-time leading scorer her senior year, and she's got a chance to win it. And they ran a play for Danny, and it was a great shot, and it bounced off the rim, and that sent Holland to the C final. Those 3 games. That was also, I was lucky enough, despite Holland being where they are, I saw Holland 3 games in a row down here, and the same thing with that Pickett girl. Like I don't, not a lot of people down. This is every year the Class C's come here, and it's all the teams we know and Holland. And Holland comes in, and it's Klein. That's all we hear because they transfer back in, and we play the game, and this Pickett girl just went off in the semifinal more than the final. And the C2 semi just went off, and was asking her coach, and he said, "Yeah, it's the best kept secret in Western New York." And he said, every couple of games, she does something I've never seen before on a girls' basketball court. As far as girls that we actually covered down here. With Panama losing Schnars and Angeletti, Mandy Brink is a freshman. And Schnars and Angeletti were the 2 seniors, and they scored. I did it one time, 87% of their team's points or something, which is probably close to that for a lot of high school girls teams. You're going to have 3 girls that probably score most of the points, but next year without those 2 girls, it'll be interesting to see what direction Mandy goes because she's a very impressive guard. And Panama does have a strong JV program and has some tall girls moving up that can kind of fill the voids. But it's going to be Mandy Brink's team next year, and I think she can handle it. She was very impressive for a freshman this year.
Yeah.
Southwestern has Reese Beaver, I think was an 8th grader this year, who played like a 7th or 8th grader the first half of the season, but down the stretch might have been their best player, if not their second best player probably. And I know their coach, Dave Turnbull, was a little surprised when the league all-stars came out, but that's based on just league games. And like I said, the first half of the year, she wasn't as impressive, but she's probably just out on our team, which is top 15. Randolph has a good young team. Sydney Wiesjock has been there forever, it seems, and she's only a junior. And if she didn't go to Randolph, would likely be a lot of schools' all-time leading scorer when it's all said and done. But obviously, McKenna's just second in Section 6 now after Haskell passed her. But other than Weezjack, they also have a freshman, Kira Pence, and a seventh grader, Peyton Morrison, who these next couple years now, I think Sean Huntington is retiring, and I'm not sure who is taking over there yet. But these next couple years, with the right coaching, and especially next year with Weezjack in her senior year, and some of the other teams that lost seniors this year, and they could be a pretty good team next year. Chautauqua Lake has a couple sophomores, Lily Woodis and Alexis Jacobson, who play really well together as a guard. And Lily's a post, but she can shoot it. She's probably like a 3, like a swing. They're only sophomores, and Bill Person seems every year to get them to a C1 or whatever C they're in, them at least to the final. And then it's, from there it's, almost 50-50 a lot of times. But Jacobson and Woodis there are a really good pair. And then as far as Jamestown, they had a down year. They lost 3 big seniors last year, and this year they didn't have a lot of senior leadership. But Marley Drake, Ben's daughter, is a freshman, and obviously with with Ben as her coach and Trey as her brother, and that family is gonna breed success. So Marley she was on our 3rd team this year, I think, as a freshman, and she's obviously going to grow over the next couple of years. So there's a lot of young girls down this way that I think are going to make some noise, and for as many as 4 or 5 years, with some of them being 7th and 8th graders that play varsity these days.
Yeah, very good. Miguel, out of the teams you saw this season, obviously take the graduation into account. Next year, who do you look to be as the front runners? Just a couple of, I don't need them all, but just a couple of the front runners for next year as we head into the 2020-2021 season, and maybe a player or two that's, you may have already answered this, but just maybe one player or two that are destined for a breakout season now that maybe the star player is moving on, and that spotlight will be on them.
Well, for teams, O'Hara, they graduate no one, as far as I know, and they've got everyone back. So I'm curious to see just how much, how much better they can be next year. I'm pretty sure Nick's going to form an aggressive schedule to try to see if he can get that team as best prepared as he can and make a run in AA. Because once you get to the state Catholic level in AA, it's you got to get by Christ the King or Mary Lewis. They're who's who of AA basketball programs in the country. But we'll saw if they lose Hannah Dolan. I'm curious to see. She is underrated for them. I'm curious to see if that means Amari's going to get even more thrusted on her. Coach Kristen Dolan seemed to indicate that they're probably going to throw more her way, especially because she's going to be a senior. But also like to see is there anyone else besides Gretchen that they have that's going to help step up. I still think they have enough in the tank to make a run again in Class A, whether it's as good of a chances this year as making a state run, I don't know, but I still think they're a team to be an A. B, oh wow, that's going to be interesting. If Dunkirk losing so many, maybe Eden, or maybe even Say Honors. They got Kyra Wood coming back for her senior year, and she's all that in a whole bag of chips. If they get another, I know they lose one player to keep kid to graduation. If they find a replacement for her, and if Coach Kristen over there, it was her first season there, I figure she'll probably maybe give them a little bit more of an aggressive schedule, get them even more ready for the playoffs. That's a team that could. That's a team that could. I don't know if you'd want to call them a sleeper, but that's a team that probably could It's like, okay, make a run there. And, I mean, try to think who else would be. I mean, maybe Southwestern a year older or a year wiser, because, I mean, I know last year they had a few more seniors on their team than they did this year. And then, I mean, Holland, yeah, they're going to lose Mila, but I mean, you got the Pickett girl there. It's such a, I mean, who's 6 foot, can, you know, play up, could play high or low post, plus the two younger clients that are coming back. We actually see how they do again. I mean, they should be good. I'm trying to think of Wilson see. I mean, Frankleville loses a lot, obviously, with Haskell, McCoy, and Burrell all graduating. I mean, McCoy and Burrell, I mean, they're the forgotten seniors on that team just because of Haskell, but they hit big shots over their careers. Just as much of a reason why they won a state title last year in D is, you know, is Danny. You're trying to see who else in C can step up. Maybe Randolph, because they got that. I can't pronounce her last name. I think her first name is Sydney, the sophomore who averaged like 25 points a game. And I mean, that's a team that could probably, you know, take another jump there. And well, Class D, geez. I mean, Pama losing those two seniors.
Tough, yeah.
Maybe they have enough in the cave from JV where they can still there's still a team to beat there. I mean, you never discount Sherman. I mean, boys or girls. I mean, just seems like they're always in the conversation. But yeah, I mean, Sacred Heart, they're gonna lose. I mean, they lose Shaban. That's huge, but they're still Sacred Heart. I mean, whether they can overtake St. Mary's or somehow get into that top two in the Monsignor Martin League where they're playing for the AA title instead of being among the teams, you know, battling for the Class A, I'm not sure. But if they're among the teams battling for the Class A, they're still Sacred Heart. They're good. And I mean, so you can't totally forget about them. Maybe one of the other teams. I mean, it seems like each of the teams in the league have a good player. I mean, they have the Boris kid for Narden, who quietly flies under the radar, but she's good. Mount has a good kid whose name escapes me, and so is Mercy. In terms of kids to look out for next year, obviously Fenn. I mean, let's see. I'm curious to see if Orchard Park just plays her and Stevenson together at the same time. That'd be such a nightmare for teams if they decide just to play them both at the same time and just go a little twin towers action. I mean, it'll be fun for me to watch this because I do appreciate the inside game, but I'm old, for God's sakes. I mean, that's all I want to see. And
I mean, what about the Frontier? Because, I mean, they were missing a couple of girls this year with injuries. Radar because of that or what, but they seem to still be a pretty tough team.
I mean, they'll be a tough team. Yeah, I mean, I forget who was it that was injured. Was it Kruska or is it the other one?
Kruska.
I got them both confused last year when they're both on the thing. So it's like a guess there. I mean, it was tough from her being out. But Rich does a good job there. He'll coach them up, and I mean AA is. They'll be all right. I mean, Clarence I was impressed with this year, and I mean, the one time I saw them, I mean, they're a nice little tenacious, pesty team, and you can't help but love those types of teams that are just going to be like, yeah, okay, we're just going to keep, you're going to grind, and we're going to try to wear you out and wear you down. That was a tough break for them in the final where they just missed a couple free throws down the stretch, but it's part of the game. And then, OP came back and forced the overtime on that. And that circus miracle heroic shot there, and then ends up winning it in overtime. But
it might be one of the plays of the year.
I mean, I picked that as my shot of the tournament.
Yeah.
For the girls' side when I did the awards column. Yeah, that could be a shot here. Someone get that to ESPN. Man, I'm counting on you for that, Frank. Or someone from the section that might have been filming it, because I didn't have the tape thing going for that one. But that was just like, wow, she hit that. Like, holy cow. that was like shot. It was like equal shock. Like, wow, that was friggin' awesome.
Yeah.
And stuff. It's just like this. How often does that work? As often as I've seen shots like that work, it's still one of those things where it's like, so I remember years ago with Terrence Reed, he always looked like he was about to stumble and lose control when he was dribbling for a game-winning shot. Either he'd hit it or he'd make that pass to the guy who was wide open for the game-winning shot for Canisius back in the year they won the Federation. Or even seeing Noah or whoever dribble, try and penetrate. It's like every now and then it's just like, wow, I can't believe he hit. Even though it's always a treat to see that type of shot. It was cool to see that circus shot there, where even though it's tough for Clarence,
Yes.
it's tough for your Clarence fan to see that happen, but it was like, wow, that worked. Holy cow! From the you like seeing good plays and whatever. It's a sports. When becoming sports, you weren't a fan of nice plays and spectacular plays. So that was one of those where it's just like, wow, I can't believe you hit that. That worked, and she hit that.
They were beaten. They were beaten. They were down, I think, 7 points with the minute or two to go. They looked like they were out of it.
They're down 5 with like 11 seconds left, and all they have to do is hit a free throw or two. But they end up, free throws aren't automatic. That's tough. Everything that OP needed to happen happened there, where it's just like they missed the free throws. They got like if it was a quick 3 or a 3-point play, then the guy will miss another one, and then it's just enough time, and then she made something happen, and the kid, I forget the girl's name already, but she made a play happen, and the rest was history for them, man. That was still, wow, I can't believe I saw that. I've seen some crazy stuff over the years. Noah Hutchins making the putback to win the Federation title for Park a few years ago. That was just like, we're coming out of nowhere to grab his own miss and then driving the hole hard. It's like you didn't think he'd have enough time to do it, but sure enough, he did. And then, seeing what Lightfoot did a couple last year for Falls in the playoffs and the game against North. It's crazy. But yeah.
That's why we do it.
We need high school sports back. God damn it. We just pandemic get under control.
I agree with you. Mr. Spielman, play of the year for you that you got to see. Anything come to mind at all?
No, there was it wasn't at the end of a game, but there was a stretch in the Chautauqua Lake Falconer C1 semifinal, I think, where Lily Woodis, the sophomore, she hit 5 threes in a row at the end of the first half. And the last one was almost like a Michael Jordan, like, shrug of the shoulders, like, just keep doing it. It's not good. I'm not missing. I don't know. But, yeah, there was a stretch about a 5-minute stretch where she hit 5 threes, and it was a pretty impressive stretch that I saw in that C1 semi. But, yeah, there's another team there, that Falconer team, that could surprise people next year. They were pretty good this year in a not other than Franklinville, the division wasn't as good. But they only lose one senior. Their, I think, point guard Sarah Disbro is the only senior they lose. And they have a lot coming back. But, yeah, that against Chautauqua Lake, they were kind of snake-bitten by Lily Woodis.
Matt, I will ask you, what's your favorite gym outside of Buff State in the finals there, or even the JCC?
Right.
What's your your favorite gym to go and cover a game at?
Coverage wise, now that we when we're shooting our own photos, the gym is very important with lighting wise. And the new Southwestern gym that they opened up last year is pretty nice to shoot in as far as the lighting. So I do like that one. The new Maple Grove gym is also a nice one to shoot in and cover games. As far as there's still a couple old ones down here. Falconer, I think, is going to undertake a renovation project in the next, maybe this off season here. They might be redoing the gym with some lighting and new seating and stuff. But like wrestling wise, that's pretty awesome to watch a wrestling match at that Falconer gym.
Yeah.
When they have the spotlight on, and yeah, it's pretty cool.
And then I'll ask you, Miguel, and probably get you in trouble a little bit. Hate to say it. What's your favorite gym to go do a game in, or your favorite school to go to?
Ooh.
I know you're
I'm going to.
north.
My favorite gym to go cover a game. Obviously, I love Buff
You can
State.
roll out of bed and be there.
I love Buff State on Championship Saturday, especially if it's a big game. But I'm going to surprisingly say Bishop Timon.
Okay.
Just because it's usually it's small, it's intimate. If it's a good game and Timon's good, oh my God, the fans in that place. They're the militia. They are creative a lot. But so I only got there once this year, but that was just like, wow, because of those. It was fun seeing them in action. And in terms of lighting, I'd never been to Franklinville's gym until I went there for a covered the game where Haskell broke the record. That's a nice freaking gym there. I heard they have a nice even setup when they set up for wrestling there, because they got the seats up in the balcony area and all that. Almost like a little, you walk. Almost looks like a smaller version of JCC, but except for blue and gold and stuff. I was like, wow, I've never been to this place. This place is a cool place to watch a game. Nice, well lit, and I can only imagine. There's a decent crowd there that day. I can only imagine what it's like when that place is packed, though. But in other favorite places, Amherst. That's always a nice little. That's always a nice little intimate gathering there at Amherst High, and I guess we'll throw the stadium that Canisius plays in there too, especially if it's for playing, St. Joe's. That's a pretty fun environment.
Well, guys, I appreciate you guys jumping on with this girls postseason basketball roundtable, if you will. I know you guys are very good at what you do. That's why I definitely wanted to have you guys on. I appreciate your time today.
Thanks a lot, Frank.
Thanks again for joining us tonight on WNY High School Sportsline. I enjoy doing this show with you every single night, 8 p.m. on Facebook or YouTube. If you haven't liked us on Facebook yet, what are you waiting for? And if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the page. We'd really appreciate it. See you tomorrow night here, once again, on WNY High School Sportsline.